The Sporland division of Parker Hannifin proudly sponsors the Advanced Refrigeration podcast. There are a lot of questions surrounding the transition to A2L refrigerants and a lot of talking heads disseminating nebulous answers. But when your technician is face-to-face with the first A2L transition project, where do you turn for real-world answers about this specific job? Parker Sporland's Virtual Engineer is an innovative online design tool to size and select the correct components for climate control and refrigeration applications. Get your A2L system flow and component selection answers in 3 simple steps. Enter your application details, size, and select products, then download your project files. It's that easy. Try it at absolutely no cost. Visit sporlin.com and navigate to the Resource Center. Parker Sporland, leading the charge.
To do today.
You and me both. I got a pack for Pittsburgh. Or no, I just came back from Pittsburgh. I got a pack for Colorado. Going to Denver. I'm going to go to Casa Bonita.
Ew.
What do you mean?
Ew.
What, ew, Casa Bonita or ew, Denver?
Ew, Denver.
Listen, I just came from Indiana. You have nothing. You can no longer say anything bad about any other state because I've been to your state now. The only thing that was nice was going to Twin Peaks in Indiana. That was the only thing.
Sucks. But Colorado's still cold. You gotta wait like another 3 months, then it's really nice.
I'm going back every month, so we'll see what happens. It's just going to warm up. The last week I'm there, I think, is July, so cool. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Advanced Refrigeration Podcast. You're with your host, Brett Wetzel and Kevin Compass. And I haven't talked to you all week. What have you been up to?
Oh, it's been chaos. Both my bosses were on vacation, so everything
Still?
just
For
turned into
2
chaos. Oh, yeah. It was a week, and it was stressful week. And then it's just been a lot going on. Been in and out of stores, trying to get commissionings done, trying to get EMS projects started, trying to get quotes done. It's like everything hit it all at once. So, yeah, I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off all week. So then I visited a CO2 store on Thursday, went through a bunch of stuff. So it was nice to actually get into some commissioning stuff again.
Commissioning? What were you doing?
We were recommissioning the CO2 rack, trying to get some of the issues gone, get some of the stuff the OEM had set up that wasn't the greatest tuned out, and trying to make this thing stop having so many service issues. Made a bunch of adjustments to it, and it seems that it made a 180 almost, and it's now. But definitely a weird store. It's the first time seeing so many propane units too on a water loop.
Oh,
not a fan.
Like micro distribution stuff.
Yeah, so most of the low temp is micro DS. So not a huge fan of that.
Why? Because you don't like working on little self-contained shit, or what?
Yeah, it's like that, and then it's like you have 2 units per 5-door now. So now you just took a case and like overly complicated it. Like it's too much.
Not overcomplicated, but I see what you mean. Because when you have a problem with it, you essentially have 2 things to take a look at to figure out what the problem is, right?
Yeah, it's just a whole nother thing to go bad. It just seems like so much overcomplication. If you can't make it work in an easy way with what we have, I don't think that adding condensing units is the way to make it work.
I think why they're doing that is because of the
charge issue.
Yeah, the charge limit, and that's the whole reason why.
Yeah, but if you can't make it work, then there's other solutions to make it work, like CO2.
Maybe they don't want to install CO2.
They're already installing CO2 at the store.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. So I'm just not a big fan of the micro DS stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of working on self-contained, so I just don't like the fact that you have X amount of little valves on there and one little mouse fart, and then all of a sudden now that unit's not working.
Exactly.
Or about it.
And then the amount of noise from those things, like I was surprised. Like it sounded like there was like a million little scrolls inside the store.
Really? Which ones were they using? Any particular manufacturer?
These ones were Hoosman and a little loud, surprisingly.
I was gonna say usually they're pretty quiet. I worked on those. What are those cases that we really don't like?
The ones?
No, the ones where the fans stay on for a multi-deck frozen food door case.
The ones from England.
Yeah,
the can't
yes,
case.
Yes, that one.
Carter.
That one. See, whatever compressors they use, those are actually fairly quiet.
No, they're pretty quiet. These were, I don't know, a lot of the sound blankets may have been off. Who knows? I don't know who's been working on this stuff, but it was surprisingly loud. It sounded like, I was like, oh, they got protocols here. And I look around, I'm like, that looks like water lines. No.
And that was a E2 store?
Yeah, that was E2s. So with core links and.
Yeah. They're using core links on the cases?
Micro DS cases are core links. Everything else is XMs.
Okay, because they have those XM 730s or something like that. I forget. Maybe I'm off with the number, but they had, or 670. I think it's 670, and where essentially it's just enable. It looks exactly like the 678 and the 679, just for a regular standard like condensing unit, just to turn it on. There's no expansion valve to play around with. They're all freaking. Were all those cap tube as well?
No, I think they're pulse valves.
Really?
I would assume. I would think they're cap tubes.
Unless they're doing. No, I'm curious. Whatever.
I doubt they're cap tubes. They're probably EVs.
That's what the Carter ones are, anyway.
No, they changed them all. They changed most of those out.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, they had to do TXVs because who would have thought? Who would have thought cap tubes was a horrible idea on a water loop?
Especially the fact that they have a receiver. You know what I mean? Like, why would you have a receiver and a cap tube?
Those two things don't work together.
I mean, they do, but I mean, you have the ability to overcharge.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, I know. It's a critically charged unit. I get it.
This is not how that works.
No. I started my week in Pittsburgh. So I flew out to Pittsburgh on Monday. No delay. No cavity search. I had a box that really loaded with a whole bunch of controllers. I had a pack controller in there and a CC55 Danfoss, and I had a whole bunch of potentiometers. And the box, if you opened it up and you didn't know what it was, it didn't look good. So it was early in the morning. It was 5 o'clock when I was going through security, and I was like, that box doesn't look good. She said, what do you mean it doesn't look good? I said, just open it up. I'm just letting you know. I just don't want to get pulled in the back and get an exam that I don't really need this week. If you could just open it up and just take a look at it. And she's, oh, okay. Yeah, no, I get it. So everything was good that day. And then when I came back, everything was good. But I started the week at Pittsburgh and then drove all the way out a little bit south of Fort Wayne, Indiana. So I drove through your favorite state, Ohio. That was fun. Real fun. I actually didn't see a single Amish person at all. But yeah, drove through Ohio, went down south of Fort Wayne, was there for 2 days teaching CO2 and a whole bunch of Danfoss stuff, and then was teaching them the Kaiser Warren FTE stuff, and then drove down for an on-hand session on the rack, just going over all the stuff that we learned about down towards Indy, and then came home last night. Only got delayed about a half an hour though. So there's that.
Fly that shitty ass airline.
I figured it out, man. I think it's always because I booked my fucking flights late. You know what I mean? So like throughout the day, they become perpetually later and later and later and later. So that's what
I've gotten delayed one time with Southwest. One time.
I was telling someone the other day, I was like, Kevin won't even talk to me on days that he travels anymore. And they're like, why? He's because he thinks it's bad luck. If he knows he's traveling, he won't even talk to me. He's like, what did you say? You're a force of nature. You're going to end up causing me to get delayed if I talk to you that day.
Yep. Blame that on you that one time.
Shut up.
All right. So what are we talking about?
gas cooler, I guess we can just talk about CO2 piping in general, but we'll start with the gas cooler stuff because there's some stuff I think we really need to talk about. So I guess we'll talk about that first. All right, I'm going to bring up what BAC actually shows that their piping's supposed to be like, and then you can ridicule it, and then we'll go from there.
Why can't all these gas cooler people fix their fan control?
I was curious about that too. Maybe our friend who likes watching our podcast, and he can talk to the manufacturers a little bit more and figure that out. All right, so this is what BAC has for their piping, and because it says that it's for CO2 and ammonia, and the only thing I've never seen an equalization line on here, because that would be, I don't know how that would probably affect the HPV and stuff pretty damn bad if we put an EQ on line there, right? Because it would perpetually feed back.
You don't need that. You don't need an equalization line on the gas cooler piping. That's more for DX.
All right, so this is how they have it. So you don't agree with the loopy loops down here at the bottom?
No, I don't. I think the traps are useless. What point does the trap serve besides creating more of a pressure drop and using more fittings? We're not trapping oil. We're in a free fall back to the receiver. I don't think the traps they serve any point.
I don't know. I have to talk to another engineer and try to figure out I'll talk to Bob about it. So I changed out the schematic a little bit to show everyone how you would pipe this thing if you were the gentleman that was piping this out. Basically, you said going down, but you would 90 down in. You'd put 90 fittings in here into this actual line, correct?
You need to free fall out of the gas cooler a full size 90. Same with the condenser. It needs to be a full size 90. If the piping's 3 1/8 coming out of the condenser, you need to come out with a 3 1/8 90. Then you could reduce down. Usually 10 to 12 inches down, you could reduce. If you don't come out with a full size 90, what it ends up happening if you tee it or do anything else at the outlets of the gas cooler, you tee them together at the outlets, you've now raised the liquid level up. Or if you put bushings in there and reduce the line size at the actual gas cooler before you 90 down, you've essentially raised the liquid outlet of that condenser or gas cooler. Because that 90 is going to, or that reducing bushing is going to step it up. It's going to raise up the liquid level because it's coned, so it has to raise up in the middle in order to make that bushing.
All right, I'm going to start bringing up some other photos of some other gas cooler piping, and then we can talk about it. Like
this making fun of it?
No, not making fun of it. Just looking at it and see what. No, because some of the pictures that I'm going to show are like this is somehow the manufacturers do it. So
like
this
that
one
right there is a service bad time. That right there is a night ruiner.
Yeah, we talked about this. So what he's talking about. So here we have the 1740 relief. This is a dry gas cooler, non-adiabatic. And here's your relief. So you have a piece of, I think it was 7/8. That's probably about 16 inches tall, yeah?
Yeah, and then you have reliefs mounted to it. That's 10 pounds of reliefs on the top of it.
Yeah, not just that, but look, so they left the plugs in there, which is also a not good thing, because if the plugs finally fall out, which they will, my thought is that we should come out with a little candy cane going down. So essentially, if there's any rainwater or whatever, it doesn't go directly into the relief and then go in there and freeze.
I leave the plugs in so that way it went off.
Really? You wouldn't be afraid of the plugs falling out?
We don't mount reliefs like that, so
yeah, usually put them out to the side and 45 them down. Yes,
depends. Sometimes you put a 90 on them, but you got to watch doing that though, because when you start doing that, then you start getting into codes and you got to meet. But like that right there is going to break the first time it goes off, especially the one that's pointed at you. It is gonna bend that copper in half.
Yep. So
that thing is going to go off with such force. Good.
No, so if you were to do this, like what they should have done is gone off this piece of strut, build something that went straight up here, put it up here, and then build a support going into that gas cooler right there, holding this thing up.
Or don't put it there. Like, why would you put it
I don't know, because if that's the way the spec is from whoever engineered it, right? It's all about,
I would have put
because
the
you have
relief
to.
lower.
What do you mean? Put it right down? Yeah.
Well, why would you not just put it right down there at the bushing where it's stronger? Why does it need to be 16 feet in the air?
I see. Here's the thing. So I don't know the spec of this. So maybe what they probably should have done is come up with this line a little bit taller, right? And then the relief would have just been real close to the top of that stub, like where it would be right down here. But then, because maybe there was a height set that they had to follow on this plans. I don't know. Like I said, we can't totally.
All I know is that is gonna break the first time it goes off.
100%. So like I said, I mean,
And I don't give a shit how you support with Unistrut. If you ran strut across it, it's still gonna break. I've seen the 1740s bend stainless lines.
Really?
Yes, there's a Costco where it went off in the motor room, and it bent the stainless line at a 45-degree angle. That's how violent it was.
I got you. Okay, so how about we talk about
I'm not a fan. Yeah, drop leg too, same thing. I would have 90'd those down, came down, full size 90. Obviously, you don't have much room there. You're limited on this, so I would have came out full size 90s, pointed down, ran them over, and then teed them. At least it'll give you enough drop with a full size 90 because there's 10 inches of pipe right there.
Would you have teed in this together? Were you okay with this?
Yeah, how else are you going to do it?
Where you would 90 into the end of like the piece over here and then 90 down within here. I guess it's the same thing. Never mind. I'm thinking this through.
It's the same thing. You're just moving it down.
Yeah. All right. Get it. But it would have been better to just 90 down, and then put this fitting down here where they actually connect.
Correct.
So you see how they
now you've essentially
that too.
Yeah, but you see how they raise the outlet of the condenser. Look at it. Like, you see the bushing. You see the bushings going into the 2.8T on the drop leg. That's higher. They bent it down a little bit, but that's essentially higher than the header.
So you're gonna have a little bit of restriction there, yeah.
Not a restriction. You've essentially cut out the free draining side of the liquid. Obviously, it's always going to be pushing, but
yeah. Oh, I get what you're saying.
I like the Heatcraft, like dry gas coolers. Those things kick ass, and they're really easy to set the fans up to run off multiple signals.
Yeah, see, I didn't get to open up the end panel because we didn't want to shut it off in the middle of the day. It was fairly warm.
You aren't missing much. It's literally a terminal block with just a bunch of AO signals on it.
And that's what I said to them. They're trying to get it open. It's like, we can't get it open. I was like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It doesn't really matter. It's probably a terminal block with a bunch of 460 going to it, and then however many analog outputs that they're going to it. You know what I mean?
That's literally all it is.
That's what I figured. All right.
And then the sensor. Look at the sensor. What is the point of that? Like, armo the whole thing.
What do you mean?
If you're gonna put a piece of armo right there, armo the whole thing.
Yeah, but armo's expensive. Plus, on top of it, it's black, and it was messed up. So you can see right where we're at that this was probably around 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. So the sun's probably about right here. So by the time that the sun would have hit 2:30, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, it's gonna be beating right down on that piece of black insulation, just heating that to high freaking heaven.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of that.
No. All right, let me bring up some other stuff that see what you think about. Remove. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. All right. And add. Anything about this one, sir?
Oof.
Okay, what's oof?
See, I hate these when they send them out like a package like this because you can't really, you have no choice but to pipe it straight out like that. But the Gutners are a little bit different.
I don't know if it was sent like a package though. Look, this is steel. They're both sitting on steel.
There's no way to rise it up because it wasn't engineered that way. Personally, I think the gas cooler should be sitting higher than the outlet of the rack.
I
For
would
the
agree with
receiver
that.
drain.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
It should be sitting higher. But the Guttner coils are a smidge different because they are a V and they are draining all the way down. If you look, so the outlet is draining all the way down in the bottom of the V. So it is a little bit different. So you do have the fall, but still it's not the best. I would like to see like a full size 90 out of the bottom of it.
So you essentially can go down and then over and then out, but then that would mean that you'd have to rise this up. I don't know. The best thing to probably do is rise this up at least like a foot or something.
They rose that up enough, but here's the thing. I think that needs to come up farther than the outlet of the gas cooler.
Anyway, so you were saying that you're okay with this, but what?
I would raise the discharge piping up above the top of the gas cooler, so that way you could put the blow off up the top for the non-condensables and actually reach it.
Yeah, because it wouldn't make more sense because essentially because then this is essentially the top. Well, you'd have non-condensables that wouldn't be able to get blown out then with the way this sits.
Yeah, because your top is pretty much SOL, like that's
yeah. So you would. So what you're saying is like instead of having this up and in, put this all the way up towards here, and then 90 this down, go down, and 90 pieces right there. So then you can go right into there and 90 in straight, right?
Correct.
So raise this up, 3 feet or something like that? Because you would essentially want this non-condensable loop right here, this inverted trap, to be up above the top of the actual header itself. Because otherwise, if you were to do a non-condensables test, you wouldn't get everything out.
You would not. You would be hosed.
All right. What do you feel about this? Because you see on the outlet here, it looks like they went down in size here. So would there be any reason, since you're limited right here where it actually goes down? Because it looks like it's what was that, 1.5 inches maybe by the picture?
Yeah, it looks like it.
So would there be any freaking reason to still run 1.5 over?
You're pretty much hosed on that.
Elaborate. What do you mean?
Like you need to, it depends. It's whatever they spec. So I mean they ran 2 1/8 over because that's what the engineer specs.
Anything else you want to say about this one before we go to the next?
You're hosed on that one. You can't really pipe with 90s down unless they give you more steel.
And it's not like you could go down and over and around this piece of steel. That wouldn't make any damn sense. Just make a trap underneath there because you're still having to go back up. All right, let me bring up the next one. What do you feel about that one, Kevin? Other than the sensors being at the top, which is silly. What are you feeling about this one?
It is what it is. I think it'll work. You like to see more of a free drain, but I like to see the sensor insulated too.
Yeah, I don't know. This could have been right before startup, so I'm not really sure. Same thing here, where the gas cooler isn't high enough up where you can actually drop down, correct? So once again, you're limited on the steel then.
Yes. Yeah, you're SOL on the steel.
All right. Let me bring up the other one real quick.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Refrigeration RDP Series differential pressure monitors from Westermeyer Industries, now available for transcritical CO2 systems in addition to other common pressures and refrigerants. When the filter element of your coalescing oil separator is contaminated, it can hurt your system's performance and efficiency. But how do you know when it's time to replace that filter? Wait too long to replace, and you could end up with a nasty filter blowout. But replacing too often can be a waste of time and money. The answer is installing a differential pressure monitor. The RDP series differential pressure monitors, including the new transcritical CO2 model, are available now from Westermeyer Industries. To find out more information, email sales@westermeyerin.com. That's WESTERMEYERIN.com.
See what else we got here. There's no, it seems like there's just no set, like this is the way that everyone's doing it. Everyone has been doing everything just a little bit differently. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, everybody has their own way of doing it, and it's just some of them they get worse. This like the liquid lines off the top or the liquid lines off of
Side.
honestly, I think they should be off the bottom.
And I do too, but the only problem that I have is you don't know the liquid quality unless you had a staple for legitimately making sure that you had a steady liquid. Because we've talked about that before, as far as with case piping. And the problem is that there's some manufacturers, they don't do any kind of heat exchange after the flash tank. So you might have the liquid that's saturated out of your flash tank, right? Where it's not subcooled at all. And then you have a lot of other manufacturers where they're doing something where they're actually subcooling it via the low temp. They're using it for superheat mitigation, for superheat going back to the low temp. But then they're also using that same temperature to subcool the refrigerant before it actually goes down the cases. So if you could guarantee that you had good subcooling out of that thing, great. Otherwise, then you don't know what you're going to have. Here, there looks like they're doing everything you wanted to do before. Look. They have the blow off up above the gas cooler. They're going down even. They're going full size directly into each line there.
Yeah, that is how it should be piped.
Oh, that section right there. What do you feel about that? So
it actually looks good.
So this is because you asked me like, how would you pipe it? And look, so this comes down, this 90's over, and then this one comes straight down, and then basically tees in right there. You're fine with that?
Yeah, no, it looks good. To me, that looks good.
Yeah, because then look, they're actually, so the same size down here, they're using reducing bushings there on that T, and it looks like they went up a size for the gas, or I'm sorry, drop leg out. I don't know where the rack is in compare. Oh no, there's the rack. See, once again, it's still not raised up. Do you think they do it because of, I don't know. I'd be curious why they don't actually raise this up. Like more money because of the steel, or weight bearing because of like the actual structural. But you're not talking much weight that you'd have to put on for another piece of steel for that, yeah?
I would think so, yeah. Probably not going to be that much extra steel.
All right, so I'm going to bring up another one. I'm sorry.
What's up?
I said, I'm sorry I keep removing it. I just don't know what other pictures I have on my desktop, and I don't want to share something that I created. And then all of a sudden, we got a picture of Greggy and Taylor, and then it's just going to go bad. So I'm just going to...
Oh, my God, I would laugh so hard.
I know, but it wouldn't be funny. It would be
it would be funny. Dylan would think it was hilarious.
No, I know. Oh, this one, as he would say, no good operator. So here, let me show you this one. What do you think of this one, buddy?
Yeah, no, not at all. That's bad. That's bad.
Go up all the way up here, over, down,
and down,
and then T over, and then in, straight down.
Yes.
That's a hell of a reducing. Look at that. Look at that. Shows a better quality picture.
That's not good. No.
Hey, I had a question for you, because you talked about that piping. I know we're talking about gas cooler piping or whatever. Is this that piping that you said that gets like smelted and heated together?
Yes. So, what is it called? I forget what it's called, but it's they like stick a heating element in there. They heat it up, and then it presses it on.
I was looking at the gas cooler the other day, and I was like, because I was looking for glue, I was looking for whatever they were using to put it together. I'm like, oh, that's that stuff they said that they were putting in that store, and they made them stop because it made this store smell the holy Helvin.
Oh, it smells awful, but it does work. And like you start to see it on a lot of like water piping jobs now. But no, that's all like hot glued together.
Gotcha. So unfortunately, it looks like this steel is the same height as this. Yeah.
You can tell exactly where that customer is just by looking at the piping spec.
Knock it off. Knock it off. So once again, you don't really agree with this. Come out, go down, come straight out, down. And how do you do that? The only other way that you could do that is just extend this out farther past the
Correct.
actual drain piping.
Yeah, their drain piping is a pain sometimes. Oh, look, they did that one all right. It's nice and insulated. It's a good operator. The plumber.
Yeah. The only thing is, I know a lot of customers are starting to put for the for the water anyway, for the water supply. They're starting to put the electronic drains downstairs. So if it gets below 40
they freeze.
Yeah. They're like, we have heat trace, but you don't know when the heat trace accidentally gets turned off. By the way, since we're talking about water piping, there's a certain customer out there, I don't know if you're aware, they're putting hot water on the adiabatic.
Why?
I don't know. I was looking at some graphs that someone had pulled up on the store that they were showing me, and we couldn't figure out why it was 72 degrees outside. And 72 degrees outside, so the TD essentially should have been 6 degrees higher. It was like 78 for the set point, and the pressure was running like 1300 psi. And I couldn't figure out why. Like, I'm trying to look at everything, and when I was down at another facility doing training, the guy's, hey, is there any reason why they put hot water on the adiabatic? I'm like, no, why? The store has hot water, and I didn't believe it. And when I opened up the drain line, I had full-fledged hot water coming out, going to be feeding that adiabatic. So once it hits 74 degrees, and once those fans hit a certain percentage, there's going to be a lot of problems. A lot of problems.
Is it just like they think it's going to evaporate more, like a humidifier?
No, I think it was just a goof. I think it was just a goof, and I believe the gentleman had said something about it, but they better fix it all over because it's been happening more at one of these stores. And yeah, it's not going to end good.
Crazy.
It's not going to end good. Not at all.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. All right.
So it'd be like a humidifier. It's gonna work better.
It atomizes the water a little bit. No, not at all. It's going to be really bad.
That'll be some engineer's excuse why it was like that.
No, I honestly think it was just a plumbing snafu. They were like, yeah, just hook it up right here, not knowing that right there was the hot water. Yeah. Let me bring up this other picture. So let me remove this from here because pictures. Oh, let's talk about this one. This one's, you're going to have all kinds of stuff to say about this one. I guarantee it. Hold on. At the stage. What do you think about that, Kev? You got the inverted trap?
Yeah, but the droplet piping ain't going to work. Holy, that ain't going to work at all. It's going to be like this building. We have these chillers where they pipe the outlets of the condensers straight up with 90s pointing up. The outlets of the condensers. They log liquid all the time.
Yeah, no
good. No good operator.
No good operator at all. So obviously, thoughts, right? We would turn these down, right? Turn these down, and then basically teed together, but down here somewhere. So we have at least what? I don't know, but what's your absolute minimum if you would like to see it? I would say 6 to 10 inches.
A full length 90.
Okay,
if you so that would be good enough. 90 out of it, like it's not ideal, but it'd be better than nothing.
Yeah, true. So then tee down, and then would you then put in? I know you said you're against the inverted trap. I've seen some of them that have the inverted trap. Would you then put an inverted trap on this one because it's then having to go back all the way? No,
I would run it down below the rack and go around. Why would you not just run it underneath the rack?
I don't know, because I don't know where it's going to end up, like where the entry point was. There's 10,000 ways better to run that pipe than the way that it was ran like that. So what would you do then, smartass?
I would run underneath the rack. I would run the drop leg underneath the rack. Come down, boom, and then go up into the rack.
They did it so they didn't get it in the way of the piping, though.
In way of what?
So you don't have to worry about walking around it.
Oh, is that what they did? Like they just made the world's most inefficient gas cooler?
Maybe they're making it really efficient by making sure it had to fill up plus to get a full thing of liquid to get some subcooling out of it.
Let's get a thing, and you're never gonna have any problems with subcooling out of that thing.
No, not at all. Especially in the wintertime. Summertime, it's gonna have one or two problems. All right, so turn these 90s down, turn 90 down, come down, and then just go straight down. You probably would have followed the piping that went down here. I think I don't know. I know this was a replacement from my understanding. Someone that shared this picture with me. I don't know, like you said, why you would go straight freaking up there. I wonder, because I don't know what the manufacturer of this rack. Can you tell? Just by looking at it?
I would say Hill Phoenix.
Maybe. I don't know where their ends are for their drop leg. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It just depends.
Gotcha. Anything else you want to say about this one?
No, not really.
Okay. All right, let me see if I have one more to dissect. Oh, no. Damn it. We looked at that one. We looked at that one. We looked at that one. No, that's all we got. That's all we got.
Yeah, in general, like trying to avoid like reducing the outlets of the gas coolers like that, and piping them. The piping is no different than a normal refrigerant HFC rack. Nothing has changed. Like it's still all the same. The pipe sizes may have changed, everything else, but just pipe it like you would a normal DX rack. Like it, don't trap liquid. Don't make sure the outlet of the gas cooler is, or the inlet to the gas cooler is the highest point. So meaning your piping has to be higher than that. And then your T's, you want to make them, I'm not worried about is equal piping like 100%. You're never going to have piping that's 100% equal. Especially when you're bringing out two different lines like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I relied on you. You know piping way better than what I do, because you've done a lot of install. I have not.
I just started up. I don't do it.
What's that?
You're gonna get me insulted now.
Why? Why am I gonna get you insulted?
I don't do the install work. I just start it up. I do case drains.
I know. You become a very big delegator like your brother. So on that note, we're gonna go. I guess we'll talk to you guys later, and you guys have a great day.
Take it easy.